a wonderful, you know, casting sessions, and there, of course, there were many American actors, actresses that were being considered, but we got a tape from her from London, and it was an interesting tape. It was not lit frontally like, you know, the way most of the tapes are done. Not that that's bad. It was actually in a room where there was a daylight coming from the side. So she was half lit. Already it creates a reality, and so that interested me. But then she's just so stunningly beautiful, and her eyes. I got a chance to finally, when the camera reached in and she looked a certain way, and the light caught her other eye. I watched how her eyes could express so much. And then I learned more about her, and I found out that, you know, what a trained actor she is. Well, she's a pro. She is a pro. And then you know, we Skyped on Christmas morning, and I got to meet her that way. I'd already picked her. I wanted her from the beginning, but then there was a problem about maybe the visa. We couldn't get to work, you know, those kind of things. And
bureaucracy.
Yeah, bureaucracy. But ultimately, we got to have her, and she also. You know, I always wanted to cut her hair short, and it was inspired by Mia Farrow, you know, that cute little bob that she had in Rosemary's Baby. And not that I wanted her to be exactly like her. I didn't. This is not the same person or the same character. But that was just so timeless. And her face and her jaw structure and everything would just take to this haircut that she had. And immediately, I think, make it timeless and classic, which... I wanted this to be an homage to the films of that era, not necessarily this era. Well, I think where it's really helpful, honestly, is for me to be able to set the tone of this story or a horror movie generally. Obviously, I've had a lot of experience working with James Wan, who's the master, and you know, I worked on my first paying job as a cinematographer. A DP was on Tales from the Crypt. And you know, and then I did a Chucky movie, which is not at all like this, you know, Child's Play. But what I learned back then, even and I think I go back to Tales from the Crypt, was that they're anthologies. They weren't serial, but they were, each story allowed you to experiment visually and push limits visually. Okay, but you had to base it on a certain amount of reality. It still had to feel real, because if the audience feels that where they are in this adventure, in this movie, if it's real, then it's scarier. It's that simple. And so I took that as well, and I think that's what kind of started it. More, you know what? I think it has to start from the psychological, which then makes it unsettling. And then you combine that with creating, you know, making it suspenseful. It has to be those things first. Then it can be scary, and then you can have jump scares. You know, it's kind of like an evolution of you know, techniques, if you will. And I think, listen, I love Hitchcock and Rosemary's Baby. Talk about a psychological movie. Wow. Also, I worked, you know, I haven't even said this in any other interview, but I worked with an amazingly talented psychological director who is my mentor as well, is John Frankenheimer. You know, The Manchurian Candidate, 52 Pickup Seconds, you know, all those, those very, very psychological movies that were thrillers. And I think that, you know, by understanding suspense first, then you can take horror to another level.